Welcome everyone to the L7C podcast superhero edition. Man, I know we always say we have a special episode for you guys, but today we got a lot of stuff to talk about. We were very fortunate in some of the things that happened today. We got a new Superman in 2025 and a new Lois Lane. We got the castings for that got announced Tuesday. We're going to be talking some Flash. We're going to be talking some MCU stuff. There's a lot going on. But we got the captain with us, Byron Mitchell. How are you doing today, sir?
I am doing good. I feel like every time we're apart from a superhero pod, like they just drop all this crazy news out of nowhere.
Yeah, because I mean, the last one we did, we were previewing it was the Arrowverse tribute. We
Hmm.
did the season of nine of the Flash, did the whole 11-year tribute with that Flash, and now this whole bunch of stuff. But we got a lot to talk about, and hopefully we're gonna keep it condensed. So, because man, there's a lot.
Yes, there is. Yes, there is.
So we're gonna start off with those ones that have the smaller stuff, then we'll build because obviously the Flash and the superhero casting are the biggest things, but we're gonna work our way up to that. Let's start off because we didn't get a chance to talk really any Marvel last time. Let's start off with some Marvel. Secret Invasions started last week.
Hmm.
This is the first project since Guardians of the Galaxy 3.
Yes.
So it's been a minute, and this is the first Disney Plus show in a while.
Yeah, the last Disney Plus show was, I mean, they had like those small ones like Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special and then Werewolf by Night.
Mhm.
But this is their first one that's been big. Like I think the last big one was Miss Marvel
And this is
or
this the
She-Hulk. Either
and
one
sh-
of those.
but those were in 2022 though, right?
Yeah, so this is
So
like the first series of 2023.
which is half the year. That's kind of crazy.
Yeah, I mean they announced all this stuff for Phase 5 and Phase 6. They announced like some shows they were trying to do this year, but they never had a really for a release date until Secret Invasion released last Wednesday.
I guess it makes. I mean, they've had the movies. They've had Ant-Man already. They've had
Hmm.
Guardians. They got the Marvels coming. Like so, they got a lot. But Secret Invasion starred Nick Fury. It's going to be one man trying to stop the whole Skrull invasion in 6 episodes. I don't know how we do that, but here we
I
are.
mean, he gonna have to figure it out. So basically the premise of the show is that there's like a small sect of the scrolls that have been here since Talos was here for like the last 30 years
Mm-hmm.
that are upset because they can't go back home, so they're gonna basically try to take over Earth, is what the premise of Secret Invasion is.
Yeah, and it's for people. It's not the same Secret Invasion as the comics. It was funny too. The creators of this show were told not to read the comics of Secret Invasion because they're completely different. They do not have access to the cast and all that. But
Hmm.
it's good to see Nick Fury back in the limelight. I mean, you haven't really seen him in the full limelight since Captain Marvel, that movie, but that was a prequel. Like you see him
Yeah,
in the past, but like present day, he really hasn't done much since like Avengers 2.
yeah. Like, I mean, we saw him in Spider-Man Far From Home, but that was just Talos
Mm-hmm.
impersonating him. So we haven't seen like the real Nick Fury outside of like an end credits screen where we find out he's in space building the Saber program.
Yeah, because he showed up to the funeral in Endgame and then he had no talking. He was in the post credit scene of Avengers 3 Infinity War, but he
Hmm.
like fully like talking and stuff. Really like Avengers 2, like you said, it was a scroll. So it's good to see him in the limelight. Good to see like Maria Hills. Maria Hills gonna be back in here, have the old band, like the quasi shield group gonna be coming because Robin is in it. You've seen the previews, Rhodey's in it somehow, but it'll be interesting to see who else shows up and what Nick Fury does.
It'll be interesting, since he's trying to be this one-man army, against a scroll invasion. In the first episode, we learned there's like 100 rebel scrolls trying to take over Earth. So I don't know how he's going to take out 100 scrolls, but more power to you, Nick.
And remember, these scrolls, you don't know who's that's the whole point of Secret Invasion. You don't know who's who.
Hmm. There was a tweet earlier this week. I don't think it was from one of the creators. Like one of those scrolls is like someone we already know.
I feel like
And
everyone thinks that's Rhodey.
yeah, that's I saw a reply tweet that said, "Oh, is it Rhodey?" I'm like, maybe. But we're gonna find out in the next 5 episodes.
Which would be interesting if it like when did then be like, all right, when did he become a scroll? Like
Hmm.
all that jazz. But no, it's a good like spy thriller type show. So if you enjoy that stuff, definitely watch it. I'm sure it'll have ramifications. Nick Fury is supposed to be back in the Marvels, but now we don't know if that's going to be the real Nick Fury or if that's going to be a scroll.
That's true. That is true.
But Byron, besides they're going on just fine right now on schedule, but a lot of MCU stuff have been delayed. The writer's strike obviously pushed a lot of the shows back and all of that. And it looks like the movies have been there's been a whole shift in the movie changes.
Yeah, there's been a lot. So I think it was last on June, I think it was the 13th. Yeah, June 13th, Ultra Crave tweeted that there are new MCU release dates. So Deadpool 3 is now going to be released May 3rd, 2024. Captain America 4 is now August 26th, 2024. Thunderbolts is now December 20th, 2024. Blade is now February 14th, 2025. Fantastic Four, May 2nd, 2025. And then the first Avengers, Avengers Kang Dynasty, is now May 1st, 2026. And then the next one after that would be Avengers Secret Wars, May 7th, 2027. So we're going to have an extra year to wait for those. They're basically extra year to wait for these movies now.
Do you think with because I've seen that his trial or whatever has begun, do you think they're also using that as a way to see what happens with Majors?
Yeah, since he's supposed to be like the major plot line for the multiverse saga, I feel like the one they're waiting for to see what happens with him in case they have to recast him. And then I feel like the major one is the writer strike because they still haven't come to an agreement with that.
But hey, we'll see how it does. I mean, maybe a pushback a little bit can help them out, fine tune some things, and maybe give their workers a little break because there's also some stuff going on with the workers.
Yeah, so it came out last week that for Cross the Spider-Verse, like the workers were basically overworked. A tweet by Culture Crave again. Multiple Across the Spider-Verse crew members have came out about unstable working conditions that caused 100 artists to leave the film. They were pushed to work 11 plus hour days, 7 days a week for more than a year, which is insane. And it also came out that there's like two different versions of Across the Spider-Verse in theaters with like a few changes here and there.
And by the way, Cross the Spider Verse, phenomenal movie. Throwing that out there. Obviously, if you haven't seen that, go see that. Still quasi new in theaters, so I don't want to give like spoilers, but
Hmm.
they have an Infinity War ending, so it does not end
Yes,
on a good note. A signature line from the L7C: "Be your own people." So take that
it
as a no
really does.
when you watch that movie. And they're going to come back with a third movie,
Yep, Beyond the
and
Spider-Verse.
that's probably going to be the last one. So we're we're going to see how that one goes. I mean, if they're going one of the spiders that we've come to love may not make it out to that movie. So we'll see who it
No.
is. There's a lot of good points in that movie, so definitely check that out. But this isn't the first time we've talked about that, Byron. We've been talking about like the effects people. The past couple of podcasts we've highlighted Marvel stuff. I know the Thor Love and Thunder one really pushed it
Hmm.
out to the forefront, like, hey, these people are quitting or that. Like, as we'll go into some of the stuff with the Flash later on. There's a lot of pressure on these superhero movies, man. There's a lot of pressure now in this era.
There is because like superhero movies have become so popular. They're like grossing tons of revenue for these studios that they're even though like some of them have got pushed back, I feel like they're still like forcing these workers to do like those 11-hour days, 7 days a week with minimal pay.
Mm-hmm.
And it's causing some VFX issues. Like in Across the Spider-Verse, I didn't notice any VFX issues because mostly it's an animated film.
Mm-hmm.
But with the Flash, which we'll talk about, I did notice there were like some CGI effects. I'm like, maybe that could have been polished a little bit more. But you guys have to give your workers a break, man. I know you're trying to get these movies out, but if it's affecting the quality of the movie, eventually something's going to break. Either the VFX artists are going to go on strike, like the writers have gone on strike, or something's going to break.
No, I agree. I agree. I definitely agree on that. Sticking with Marvel and Spider-Man, Kraven. That trailer came out of nowhere on a Monday, and so we're gonna see Kraven the Hunter. It's kind of interesting how it works with Spider-Man because I feel like when Taskmaster was going to be the main bad guy in Black Widow, he was in the new Spider-Man game at that time.
Hmm.
Obviously, he was in the Avengers game. Shout out to the Avengers game, and now Kraven, he's getting his own movie, and he's right now portrayed as the main bad guy in Marvel's Spider-Man 2's video game coming out this October.
Yeah, well, Craven is eating this year, like we said with Taskmaster a couple years ago. Like I knew a Craven movie was coming, but I didn't expect it to come out this year. I thought it was going to come out in 2024.
Mm-hmm.
So when they dropped the trailer, like you said, it was out of nowhere. Like the trailer looks violent as hell. Like
It's the
I
rated
think it's
R,
going to be
rated
rated
R.
R. Yep,
Yeah.
rated R. I think it's going to be the first rated R superhero movie that Sony has done. But I mean, it looks good. We'll have to see if it is good because we thought Morbius looked good, and then Morbius turned out not to be as well as the trailers. But I'm
Well, they
gonna go
lied in the
watch.
trailer. I mean, they
That's
had that
true.
Spider-Man. As long as they don't lie and say Spider-Man's in the movie.
Yeah, hopefully they learn from Morbius not to tease something that's not in the movie.
What I saw something too how they're trying to because he's a villain, like, but they're trying to make him into an
Anti-hero like
anti-hero
Morbius.
like Morbius, or I mean, like Black Adam's more of a, I'll let that. But sometimes if you're gonna do a villain movie, just let these people be the villain. Let them do villainous shit.
I agree, and that's what a lot of people have been saying. Like, why are we turning these villains to anti-heroes? Which I get. So I think they need to be villains because I feel like they're trying to set up a Sinister Six movie with Morbius, Kraven, the Vulture, whoever may be the villain, and if they ever do a Spider-Man 4 with Tom Holland, which
I was
there's
gonna say
rumors that it's coming,
at that
but we
point
don't know.
to get to six, who would even be Spider-Man at that time?
That's true. So I don't know. I don't know what they're doing with the Sony Spider-Verse, but if they're trying to set up a Sinister Six, good luck. I feel like at this point it's going to be like a anti-hero group instead of being a villain of
Yeah.
Spider-Man.
But no, the trailer looks good. Rated R movie. We don't get those often. So we're gonna see how that one goes. And staying with Marvel is so crazy. We're still waiting. I know we gotta wait longer for an Avengers 5.
Yeah, now it was supposed to be 2020 six or 2025 for the first one. Now it's 2026. So we have an extra year to wait for those to come out, which is insane because we haven't had it since Infinity War, which was
Well,
2022.
Endgame.
Endgame, yeah,
No,
Endgame
Endgame was
2022.
2019. It was before COVID.
Oh, yeah, 2019. Jesus
Which
Christ,
I know,
that's
which makes it further.
and yeah. So for those that are waiting for that Avengers film in 2025, you got a extra year to wait. Because we're gonna have a long gap between Marvel projects. Because I don't know if What If season two is finished yet, or if Echo is finished yet. Those were rumored to come out this year, but with the writer strikes, we haven't got an update on those. So if they don't come out this year, like the Marvels releases November, and then if there's no more TV series, the next project will be Deadpool 3 in 2024.
Which is not even connected to the main MCU to our current knowledge.
Correct.
So we'll see how that goes. Sticking with Marvel, Chadwick Boseman, obviously Black Panther. He will be who died of colon cancer in 2020 at 43. he will be getting a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, and he's not the only person from Marvel. Kevin Feige is getting a star,
Yep.
which I didn't know that he didn't have one. Um, and then from DC side, Wonder Woman, Gal Gadot, Rachel from The Dark Knight, Maggie Gyllenhaal, Chris Pine, Steve Trevor from the superhero side. They're all getting stars. Christina Ricci as well, Michelle Ying. So a lot of people getting stars, but obviously we're shouting out the people who played in the superhero movies getting their star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame.
Congratulations. You all deserve it. You have all done amazing work the last, well, your career.
It always for me personally. It always stings with the posthumously awards because it's like, why couldn't we get it to them when they were alive?
Yeah. But man, he died sooner
Yes, true.
than most people expected because no one outside of his circle knew he had cancer until he passed away.
Yeah, yeah. Oh man, Byron, are we ready to go to Flash?
Yeah, I think we covered all the Marvel news that's come out since the last time we were on here.
Secret Invasions are coming out every Wednesday.
Yep, every Wednesday.
Okay.
So there's 5 episodes left of the season.
So let's get into it. Flash came out a couple weeks ago. This movie was extremely hyped, a whole bunch of things. Everyone was hyped about the cameos, who's going to be in it, who's not going to be in it. People were mad about the cameos of people already announcing that Grant Gustin or John Wesley Snipes was not going to be in it, which really pissed people off because how do you not have 2 Flashes, OG Flashes in a Flash movie? And we saw it. We've let it simmer for a couple weeks. Financially, it's not doing as well as they wanted to do. It was number 1 the first week it came out, but now it's not. But it won't reach the goals they wanted it to reach. But Byron, what was your thoughts on the movie first? Did you like it? What things did you like? What things did you not like?
I did enjoy the movie. I thought Michael Keaton did great as Batman, as usual. Like his silo fight scene was top notch. Sasha Kaje, who plays Supergirl, I think she
Yes.
did great as Supergirl. So overall, I enjoyed the movie. Not Grant Gustin, because I'm so used to calling him the Flash. Ezra Miller, they did a good job as the Flash in this movie because there's 2 separate versions, like an alternate version of him and then the one we know. So overall, I think the performances were good in the movie. It's just I during the filming, I was so hard not to compare his performance to Grant Gustin, because Grant Gustin has been doing an amazing job the last 10 years. Like some of those emotional scenes, I'm like, I wonder if Grant Gustin probably could have did this better. But um, overall, the story was good. I still think they should have waited for Flashpoint for like the second solo Flash movie, but they accomplished what they set out to do, I think.
Yeah, so yeah, it was their version of Flashpoint because the premise is the same. Barry wants to go back in time to save his mom. In the original Flashpoint, like the comics and stories, when Barry goes back in time to save his mom, the whole world goes to hell. The Atlanteans, Aquaman, and Wonder Woman go to war. Which, if you watch Zack Snyder's Justice League, Diana actually tells Bruce there was a time where her people and the Atlanteans were at odds with each other. A little hint, maybe, of that type of stuff. Batman is Thomas Wayne, Bruce Wayne's dad. Bruce dies in the alley. Martha's the Joker. Superman never gets sun. He's kept in a government thing, which this Supergirl was. And Cyborg is like the main person trying to save the world, but the relationship with Fisher and DC, they weren't able to have him. So they had their own version of Flashpoint. It wasn't the same Flashpoint by any means. And obviously, I think the beginning of the movie I actually liked a lot with like Batman calling Flash for help, like calling the League, all that stuff. Because if you're all in this, that's the thing I had issues with Marvel. If you're all in the same world and working together on a team, you should be able to call
Follow
someone.
each other. Yeah, I like that too. I wasn't expecting. Well, I knew Ben Affleck Batman was going to be in the movie, but I didn't know he was going to be like calling Barry for help to come save Gotham, which was a nice touch that they did.
Oh, then you have that. You have Wonder Woman come in there too for a bit to
Her
help at the.
cameo.
Yeah, that's the type of stuff I like to see. You see the relationship with Bruce and Barry, and you see him. You see stuff with Iris and Barry in
Hmm.
that movie because we talked about Grant and Gustin for 10 years. We've had Candace Patton as Iris for 10 years, so
Hmm.
we were used to that stuff. And then he goes back in time, his stuff, and there's no superheroes except Michael Keaton's Batman, who looks retired and all that, and then the Supergirl. I think the thing that messed up the movie, obviously, Ezra Miller stuff clouded the movie a lot.
Yeah,
Like,
I
I
feel like
mean,
that's one of the reasons why it didn't do as well as they expected because of their issues with just all the craziness they did the last couple of years.
I also think a big reason too is James Gunn. Like you never, it's one of those things you never should have said if this was a part of your DCU or not. Because if you tell people, "Oh, this isn't going to be a part of myself," why would people go watch it then?
Yeah, he did come out and say, yeah, the Flash movie is resetting the DC universe.
Which is what Flashpoint does, but you don't say that because then any that helped that messed up Shazam, messed up.
Hmm.
I mean, Black Adam and all that stuff, and it's gonna mess up Aquaman because that movie's supposed to happen this year.
I wouldn't be surprised if it got pushed back again.
Wouldn't be because I mean it's in December. We'll probably get a trailer in the fall.
Yeah, probably when Blue Beetle releases.
Yeah, because Blue Beetle comes out 2 months from now,
Hmm.
and they said he is in the DCU, which makes I'm like okay, so he's in the DCU, but
Why aren't others?
so it's interesting for that fact. There's just a whole lot of different things. A lot of people also said too is like not enough older people went to like because Michael Keaton was like a generation's Batman. Not enough of them showed up. And shout out to Nikki. He had a tweet saying like, "Well, maybe you should have got Christian," which apparently they tried to get him
Yeah, that tweet came out last week that they tried heavily.
from
Kevin
Kevin
Smith.
Smith.
Yep, Kevin Smith said they tried to get Christian Bale heavily, but he said, no, I'm not doing it.
I mean, he said it for years, and he said he will come back to Batman if Christopher Nolan asked him to.
Yeah, so they should have. Andy Machete, who was the director of The Flash, should have reached out to Christopher Nolan. Try to get him on board to get Christian Bale back.
He should have, and it's Andy. I wonder what they're gonna think about him now because he's supposed to direct the next Batman movie.
Yep, Brave and the Bold.
Like, what you see him do the stuff with the Flash, which I mean, the Batman stuff in the movie was fine, but you have a problem with the Flash movie if you have more Batman than Flash.
Yes, they had two Batman, two Flash. Well,
Technically,
three.
three. Yeah,
Yeah, because of the George Clooney cameo
yeah,
at the
guys,
end.
you get a George in 20 some years. You get the worst Batman movie stuff of all time. You get George Clooney showing up at the end, and you're just like, what the hell? So
So that's actually another thing. Well, one issue I have with this movie. So in the movie, he calls his Flashpoint because he goes back and tries to save his mom from dying. That causes Flashpoint. So then he lets his mom die. Then in the movie, he changes it so his dad gets out of jail. Like, once you learn from what you just did in Flashpoint,
hey,
that's yeah, yeah. That was the one thing I've been struggling with. Like, why would he do that if he just knew the ramifications of him not having his mom die? Why would he change it so his dad looks up at the video footage so they know he's at the grocery store to get him out of jail?
I just can't believe they went that whole movie with the mom dying stuff, and you saw no Reverse Flash.
Yeah, that's another thing. Like, why not introduce Reverse Flash? Because we all know he is the one that kills his mom in the comics.
Hmm.
Even in the Flash TV show.
Oh yeah, that's a constant. That is a constant. He kills Barry's mom. Like, why don't you show him? It's still a mystery in that, but now you may never ever get the chance to. And also, it's like, I mean, Aquaman showed up in the post credit scene drunk. It's just because then they also had a scene where the multiverses were colliding, and you see stuff like Christopher Reeve Superman. You see Nicolas Cage as Superman and all of that, and I'm like, this is what we didn't have other flashes for, really?
Yeah, that scene was like a lot of it was CGI, even though they said Nicolas Cage wasn't CGI, but come on, you could obviously tell that Nicolas Cage was CGI.
Hmm.
And then like a lot of people had issues with them like bringing up Christopher Reeves because he passed away, which I didn't really have issues with. And then I think there was like a scene from like the Superman TV show with that actor committed suicide, so people had issues with that. So it's just a lot of controversies surrounding that. But my big thing is you probably should have had the Flash if you're doing these multiverses colliding, or some people from like HBO Max TV shows, like John
Hmm.
Cena as Peacemaker, or some of the Titans.
Hmm.
Like, why are you bringing up these nostalgia bait acts when you were trying to reset the DCU? Like, they could have. I feel like they could have done better cameos.
Oh, 100% agreed. So we'll see what that actor does. Because now he thinks, I mean, with that pressure now, he's going to see pressure. You're about to direct a Batman movie. You're about to see some real pressure.
Yeah, the Batman community is no joke.
Oh, I oh, oh they are not. They are
Like
not.
I've been seeing tweets with like some of the Batman fandom having issues with Batman and the Lasso of Truth. What's your take on that?
Oh, when he got lassoed and then like he was talking that gibberish.
Yeah.
Um, well, it's not a Batman movie, so I mean it's a Flash movie, so it's supposed to be. I mean, a more lighthearted atmosphere type thing.
Right.
I didn't have that big a problem with it. It was more from a comedic belief and all that stuff because he got by it. If you remember in the Whedon Justice League, like Aquaman got by the
Mm-hmm.
lasso. It just gets people. I mean, of course you have the Barry Allen part where he's like, yeah, and I never had sex. And then I was just like, oh brother. But I know what you're talking about. All the communities I'm in, there's a lot of people who did not like that scene. I also will say with Ben Affleck's Batman in that scene, as he was wearing the blue because he was Batman in the daytime. Because
I did
that's
notice that.
so I do want to shout them out for doing that because he had the blue on because he was in the daytime, which is a very rare. That's to be a really, really big thing for him to be Batman in the day.
Right.
Hence why he had the blue and not his usual gray and black. And so that I like the attention to detail in that regard. Because I mean, in this universe, I mean, he's the leader of the Justice League and
Mm-hmm.
and their stuff, which I mean, boy, when Aquaman's done, because that'll be the last one of I don't know, but DCU, DC, whatever, these people gonna have a whole retrospective on that because I've been watching a lot of Zack Snyder's Justice League clips and all that stuff. I'm like, man, we really had it in this movie. Like this was the magic.
Yeah, and for some reason, I don't know if it was. I don't think it was on Zack Snyder's side. For whatever reason, WB did not want to go with his vision, and I think that is one of the things that crippled the
Oh
DCEU.
yes, oh
And
yeah.
the fact that they didn't want to go the Marvel route of having just one cohesive director plan out
Mm-hmm.
everything, and then they're like, "Oh shit, maybe we should have this whole time." So then they hired James Gunn, and I can't think of the other guy's name.
Peter Stafford and
Yes,
everything.
Peter.
Yeah, but I just that scene really didn't bother me because I mean the whole car chase thing he was really good, and it's just
Hmm.
sitting here. You're just really like, wow, this is probably Ben Affleck's last time as Batman, and he will not have a solo movie.
Which is insane.
It, it's one of those things where you're like, this is a great player who
Hmm.
never won a championship or never won an MVP
Yeah.
because of powers to be. Like it's ridiculous. But no, I didn't have that big a problem with the scene. I love the scene with him and Barry talking and all of that. So,
Hmm.
oh, and Alfred being in the movie too.
Oh
Uh,
yeah, Jeremy Irons.
yeah.
Yep.
So it was a movie where the Justice League is established in the world and they could call each other for help. That's something I've been asking for. Again, something I've been asking for Marvel for years.
Hmm.
A big ass Eternal was in the ocean and no one came.
No one came, and they still have not brought it up to the day.
So things like that. But James Gunn, I mean, he had an interesting line because he said superhero movies are getting lazy with like the third acts and all that stuff. But remember, this is the same guy who said The Flash was one of the greatest movies he's ever seen.
He did say that, which I don't think is one of the greatest movies,
No,
superhero movies I've ever seen. I don't think I would put it top 10,
no.
but I mean, he has to promote it since he's a WB figurehead now.
I just also think that I think the movie's getting a lot more hate than what it should because I actually do enjoy the movie. There's,
Hmm.
I mean, my biggest gripe is not having flashes in the movie like that. That's my biggest gripe.
Yeah, I think that's mine too. And like I said, like some of the CGI was not as good as it could have been. But
Mm-hmm.
again, we know that VFX artists are overworked, underpaid, rushed. So it's not. I'm not mad at them. I'm more mad at the studios for not valuing the VFX artists.
Yeah, and I mean, my biggest thing I would love for Sasha to continue being Supergirl, but I don't know.
Yes.
I'll be up to James.
Also, another gripe is that I know Andy wanted George Clooney for nostalgia bait, but I feel like that would have been a good time to introduce your next Batman.
Well, apparently they haven't hired him yet.
I know that now, because James Gunn came out and said we're miles and miles away from finding our next Batman. But I feel like if you are going to say this is resetting the DCU for what we want it to be, I feel like that would have been a good time to introduce your next Batman.
I agree. I agree. No, I 100% agree. I don't know, like with with the Clooney thing, I was like, I guess because that was the only other movie Batman, and
Hmm.
I guess they did for shock value. I think it would have been just fine leaving it with Affleck.
Yeah.
But I mean, I was like, well, you could have gone maybe TV route. I mean, if you want to go old person, the person who plays Bruce Wayne in Titans is super old.
Hmm.
Like, and then obviously, I mean, if you want to, you could have used the guy who played Bruce Wayne in the Arrowverse.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking of other people. Obviously, the guy who played, he's not old enough for that shock value from Gotham, and Kevin Conroy's passed away. But I mean, it's just the way they went. But in perfect world, that's where you announce them.
Yeah.
But they did announce something today. They announced the new
Yes, they did.
Superman, Byron. Like this is the biggest decision of James Gunn's life, from a standpoint of work, and he announced the new Superman and Lois Lane.
Hmm.
Byron, take it away.
Yeah, so you sent the tweet earlier in our group chat that Superman Legacy casting news. So David Corn Sweat is to play Clark Kent, and then Rachel Brosnahan is to play Lois Lane. Rachel Brosnahan is known for playing the Miss Maisel and the Fabulous or the Marvelous Miss Maisel. And then David Corn Sweat, like the only thing I've seen him in is in this movie called Pearl, where he was like the love interest opposite of Mia Goth. And he did
Mm-hmm.
really well in that movie. So I'm excited to see what his take is on Clark Kent and what Rachel Brosnahan's take is on Lois Lane.
So I think this was crazy because I really wasn't expecting like this to It's funny too because related story. Who is David Cornus at DC's new Superman? Because remember, James Gunn wants this stuff connected through video games, and
Hmm.
so if you're a Superman, like I don't know if that means you have to do all the voiceovers and all of that stuff, or your likeness is going to be used in the games. But this is big,
Yeah.
man, because I haven't seen him in a lot of stuff. I do feel I'm more confident in Rachel because
Hmm.
I've seen her as the main character in the Miss Maisel show and how witty and quick she is. So I
Hmm.
feel like that would be well, like, and especially since she's the only female comedian there taking no shit from any of the guys. So I feel like that's going to be a really great tool for her to be Lois.
Yeah.
But David, I mean, people like he has a look to him which could work, but he's going to be up against it, man, because there's millions of people that are still hot. Henry Cavill never got a full go at it again.
I'm one of those people.
I am too. I mean, you haven't. He really hasn't. You didn't get to see his face again until the Schneider cut.
Yeah, and then we saw him as a cameo in the end of Black Adam, which
Mm-hmm.
we all know what happened with that. That's so crazy. It just I feel so bad for Henry Cavill because he was on The Witcher, left The Witcher because of creative issues. Like he felt like they weren't following The Witcher from the comics, so that's why he left. And then gets cast, not cast, but gets to play Superman again at the end of Black Adam. So then a couple days after that, it's like, oh, we're gonna make Man of Steel 2, and then
Mm-hmm.
James Gunn takes over, say, yeah, we're gonna go in a different direction with Superman.
Yeah, and luckily he was able to go back to The Witcher. So,
Yeah.
but it's crazy how he never got a second movie, and the guy looks the freaking part, like loves
Hmm.
Superman. So we'll see what this guy does. We'll see. 2025. That's a year and a half from now. So
Yep. So we should probably get. I think it comes out June 2025. So probably should get a trailer around April of 2025, which sounds so far off.
and I mean, he's got to be careful because I mean he's only 29. Like this is literally a career defining role.
Yeah. Especially if they want to do it like James Gunn wants to do it, where, like you said, the likeness of him playing in the video game, so he'll have to do voiceover work, and then however many projects he's signed on to play in the movies. We know he has at least one solo movie, so I'm hoping he does well. Again, I don't know. I've only seen him in one movie so far, but Tyler, who plays a Superman in CW, he was a relatively unknown actor, and then he's been doing great work as Superman. So
Well, he was a Teen Wolf for people who like that type of shows.
true.
Because I mean, I didn't know. Like I was like, oh, I didn't watch Teen Wolf, so
Hey,
I didn't know. But then you're seeing what they're doing, and again, Superman. Seeing of that, I mean, it's gonna be well. By then, they'll probably be done with Superman and Lois because that's the way DC does things. But Superman and Lois is such a phenomenal show. They just had their
hmm.
season finale right before recording, and the dude. Well, don't want to spoilers. Doomsday showed up, and the Doomsday in this looked better than the Doomsday in Batman v Superman
Well, you're
with a
not
lower
wrong.
budget.
Which is so wild to me. How, with a lower budget, can you make a better Doomsday than you did in BVS with a higher budget? I don't understand. The
And
CW is just like whoever does the superhero shows for CW, man. They did excellent. I'm so sad that Arrowverse is over.
shout out to Superman and Lois too, because last time we didn't know they made it through. They're getting a season 4, 10 episodes, but most of the regulars besides the family are going to be cut to like not regular roles anymore because they're cutting costs. But they made it to season 4, and after that season 3 ending, thank God they did.
Thank God they did, because it was going to be wild if they ended how they ended at season 3 and we didn't get a season 4. Like
Oh my
with
God! Oh my gosh! It'd be bad.
Catwoman and Legends of Tomorrow.
And then speaking of, since you brought it back, even though I'm not watching, but it's still in the background because I haven't changed the CW. Gotham Knights did not make it for season 2. They are going to be done in these next 2 episodes.
Yes, which is hilarious because our Arrowverse podcast, we were talking about it. We're like, well, they still have Superman and Lois and Gotham Knights, and we're like, one of them is not going. Either both of them are going to make it, or one of them is not going to make it. And I was like, it's probably Gotham Knights that are not making it,
Yeah,
and
they
Gotham
were
Knights
up.
did not make it.
They were up against it, man. I don't know what they like. You know, you're in a bad spot when the video game tweets out that they're not
You're not
associated
affiliated.
because you have the same name, even though you both have the same premise of Batman being dead. But y'all were just out here out in secret identities, and like y'all didn't do anything. No suit up. No one became really anything. But it's kind of funny too because the game. I mean, after you play all this stuff they were talking, there've been no updates in the game.
That's true.
Heroic Assault, like they dropped the ball on that too.
Yeah, yeah.
Like I was waiting for all these DLC characters, Catwoman, all that, and to finally get me back to playing it. And it's just like when you beat the game, it's like, all right, what do you
There's nothing for you to do.
except stop random crimes, which I guess is fine if you have. Bro, it's like no other story.
Yeah, they did not plan the DLC out well for Gotham Knights.
If at all any. It had
That's
one
true.
thing. But back to the casting. Apparently now they're going to be looking for like Lex Luthor, Jimmy Olsen, and again this person again, Nicholas Hoult, man, lost again
Yeah, I lost out on Batman
to
or
Robert. Yeah,
Patton said. I lost out on Superman to David Cornsweat. I mean, there was a tweet that said he's on a short list to play Lex Luthor, but he's got some great competition against Bill Skarsgård and Alex Skarsgård. Those are two great people that could do an excellent job as Lex Luthor.
yeah. So I don't. He's probably going to lose that too. Like
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't see him like when he was a finalist for the Batman. I was just like, oh, really? And I'm sitting here. I was like, bro, how are you going to be you? How are you going to be Superman?
I can see him playing a Jimmy Olsen. I don't know if he would want to, but
Oh
I could play him
hell
saying
no!
a Jimmy
He
Olsen.
don't want to do that. If he's been trying out for the big leagues, he ain't gonna want to.
Yeah. Maybe you could play like if they ever do like a Green Arrow. Maybe you could do Green Arrow.
No, see, because then we're gonna start comparing him to Stephen Amell.
That's true. He needs like I'm not gonna say a no name DC character, but like a lesser known DC superhero.
Someone tried to say he should be Flash. I'm like, oh brother, come on.
I saw that too.
He's gonna be something. He might be Lex, because then he could really hate that person who beat him out.
That's true. That would be a good dynamic. Like, hey, we purposely didn't cast you as Superman so you could play Lex Luthor.
This is big, man. Legacy World, July 11th, 2025. I mean, literally, we're entering July this weekend, so it'll be two years from now.
Yep, 2 years from now we'll have our first Superman solo movie in a while.
Yeah, since Man of Steel of 2013.
12 years. Insane.
He's going to be a new Superman for this new generation of people. It's just, and then Lois, I mean, they're going to be up against it again. I'm going to keep saying it because if you really like someone, you're instantly like, I don't like this person. Like the Cavill thing is, Cavill looked perfect. Like I'm
Hmm.
just whether you liked him or not, the dude looked phenomenal as Superman. Like that's someone you can look at as Superman. And I liked Amy as Lois, and
Hmm.
I like what I mean. I've never had a obviously when Ben Affleck got cast as Batman, I was like, really Ben Affleck. But then you see the DC EU casting; they were hitting on some of these castings, like especially like I think the best one. I mean, Gal Gadot's the best one. Like
Yeah, Gal
that she
Gadot.
is. I pray for whoever is going to be Wonder Woman after that because if they don't,
Oof, man.
that's one I want them to keep. I want them to keep Gal Gadot at all costs. But
She should stay as Gal Gadot because she has been like in a cameo role in, like The Flash, obviously Shazam too.
who
So I don't
knows for
know if they're just
Aquaman?
doing that because those are like the last films she had on her contract,
Mm-hmm.
or if they're trying to keep her as Wonder Woman.
We'll see. We'll see. But now we got a new Superman. I hope. I hope both of them are. I hope their group has told them to be tough skinned because I hope they don't Google themselves because they're going to get a lot of articles saying why they suck.
Yeah, the internet superhero community is vicious sometimes.
Yeah, so they need to get ready because they're going to see that all year. They're going to see that till the movie comes out.
And then after that, if they don't do well,
Like being a superhero, yeah, it's a tough skin game. And when James Gunn said, "Yeah, we're miles away from picking the next Batman," I was like, "Hey, take your time, man, because whoever that is, they're gonna go through hell. It's gonna be
hmm
bad out." I mean,
hmm
obviously, the only person I have left who I want to see because he voices him in the these new movies is Jess Atkins. I mean, Dean Winchester,
yeah,
but he's doing
I
so.
think he would good to Batman.
I mean, he's already done Soldier Boy. Like he's a voice red. Like that's my guy. I would. That's who I wanted for years to be the Arrowverse Batman because he would have been perfect.
hmm
But DC didn't want DC's laws and all that, and deals with Fox, and so Batman. It was crazy shit. But when that happens, so Batman Brave and the Bold supposed to come out in 2025?
I don't think they gave a release date for that one because if it does come out in 2025, they really have
Then
to.
their announcement's going to be coming sooner than
Yeah,
later.
let me see if there's a release date for Brave the Bold.
Oh, I typed in Brave and the Bold. You actually get the TV show. Everything we and that's gonna have Batman and Robin. Oof.
Yeah.
Um,
No, it still says it's in pre-production with no release date.
that's good because if that was 2025, then that would have to happen now.
Yeah. The only thing we know about that is that they're making it and Andy Machete is the director.
All right. Well, Superman Legacy. Sure. But no, they would have because they said Superman Legacy is gonna have a whole bunch of already like heroes in it, like superheroes already exist in his world. So wouldn't that
True.
also be a movie like going back to Flash to you're gonna have Superman to debut who Batman's gonna be?
You would think, but I don't know what James Gunn is doing with his new universe.
That's what we all think, man. But it's big news. This is gonna be crazy. I mean, I can't wait to hear their first interviews and how they're prepared for these roles. They're gonna start filming soon. So all
Yep.
right. Byron, anything else, man? This is
I think we covered it all. I'm trying to think if there's anything we left off, talked about MCU and all this updates and then the Flash and their shenanigans. I think we covered it all.
I also, since I'm seeing that thing, can't believe Gotham Knights is literally the Court of Owls too, just like the game. It's so funny.
That's so funny. And I like I said on the last podcast, I really tried to give it a good college try, but after that first episode, I was like, yeah, this is not the show for me.
We also talk about too how DC, instead of making a new game, they just do remakes. Now they're putting three of the Arkham games on the Switch instead of giving us a
Making
new
a new
game.
game.
Because Suicide Kills the Justice League's been already postponed like 5 billion times.
I don't think that game is ever coming out because it was supposed to come out in September of this year. Now it's pushed back until I think February of next year.
And wasn't it pushed back before that September date
It was,
too?
yeah, because it's supposed to come out last year.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. See.
I mean, they could surprise me and come out with it, but I, we'll see. We will see. Because I was hyped for the game because I had like a gameplay that came out a couple months ago. I was like, yeah, it's cool. We're gonna finally get this game in September. And then I got a lot of backlash from people that didn't enjoy the gameplay. So that's like, we're gonna push it back again to polish it. Now the tentative release date is February 2nd, 2024. Will not be surprised if in like the next 2 months it's like, yeah, We're just gonna go ahead and scrap the game.
Ah, man, it's terrible. It's terrible. But we'll see. I mean, they haven't had a new game either in a while. Like DC's just in on place, but they're gonna need to put up or shut up in these next couple movies.
Yes, they are. Yes, they are. They got some good competition because, well, we'll see. Because Marvel is being delayed for like a year, so we'll see. Because I mean, I guess that's good because a lot of people have been complaining about superhero fatigue. So maybe it's a good thing that Marvel is getting pushed back for a year.
I,
We'll see.
with that, I don't. I've never agree with. I think if you make a good movie, people will go because
Yeah.
people will talk about people like if a superhero movie does bad, they're like, oh, superhero fatigue. But this year alone, Across the Spider-Verse is doing really well. Guardians of the
Mm-hmm.
Galaxy is over $800 million.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just like you see those type of things, you're like, really superhero fatigue? Come on now. Like if you
Yeah.
make a good product, people will resonate.
Mm-hmm.
And both of those movies are in the top. I think Guardians is number two. Yeah, number two most grossing movie this year behind Mario.
Which is wild to think. My Mario was a great movie. Guardians of the Galaxy, Mario was a great movie. Spider-Man Across the Universe was a great movie. So we
And
shall
then
see.
we'll see. But with that being said, thank you everyone for listening to the L7C podcast. Make sure you like, rate, comment, subscribe. A lot of superhero stuff going down. Secret Invasions, I think, is the current superhero thing out at the moment. You can definitely
Mm-hmm.
go to the movie theaters, check out Flash, check out Across the Spider-Verse, check out Guardians. All those movies are out soon. Soon they'll be coming to digital if you just want to wait for that. But I always say check them out in theaters. But with that being said, this is the L7C podcast signing out.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the L7C podcast. Be sure to like, rate, review, and subscribe to the channel. Follow us on all social media platforms, and we'll be talking to you guys soon. Take care.